everyone, and welcome back to another episode of We're Watching Star Trek, the original series. I am Brandon, and as always, we've got Paul.
Giddy up, people. Let's get here. Let's get ready to watch a great episode. Woo!
It's you this time. and Dan, now you got to figure out something else to do.
Yeah, you kind of stole my mojo there, Paul. Howdy.
Yeah, howdy. Why are we suddenly country?
Because I'm saying giddy up forever. I'm stealing that from him forever. Every time I get a chance to say giddy up, it's going in there.
Yeah, so today we are covering Season 1, Episode 15, Shore Leave. The original air date was December 29th, 1966, which is a huge gap from the last episode. I think they had like a 2 or 3 week period where they didn't show anything. So I wonder if it was like a holiday thing.
I'm not sure.
Could be.
Yeah, so we're opening up, like we always open up the episode, with a shot of the Enterprise. But this one's orbiting an Earth-like planet. And Spock's just hanging out on the bridge, and he's over at a panel just doing some work, and he walks over to the captain's chair where Kirk and a yeoman that we've never seen before, they're doing something on like a little data pad, and Kirk asks Spock if they've heard anything from the landing party. So clearly, they send some people down to the planet.
I want to clearly, before you go there, I want to clearly state this yeoman's cleavage area t-shirt is very U-neck. Like it is very super U-neck. Like it's not even a V-neck, it's a U-neck. Like it was hanging pretty low. And then I saw her immediately. I thought, yep, Kurt's in trouble. As soon as I saw her, I knew something was going on with Kurt immediately. I turned to be wrong later on. But I just
she had like a special uniform.
Yeah,
like just real deep.
Yeah, real deep.
I mean, nothing crazy, just like compared to the other women. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just It was kind of, I thought it was very overt. I mean, it's something for the times. I noticed that immediately.
Yeah. Also, I don't think like any ugly women work on that ship. Like there's not one woman you could call unattractive. I know
I think it's the law,
but
like you're not allowed to have any ugly people on the ship.
Yeah. Like I hesitate to say ugly because everybody has their different standards and things. But like they all have conventionally attractive women and men. Like the guys are all like conventionally attractive guys. So it's just a very nice looking crew.
And also when I saw her, I thought, man, where's Yeoman Janice at? That's how I thought immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe she had the day off or something. I don't know. Maybe she was sick. I'm not sure what it was. I just know that I didn't see her.
She got a little embarrassed after the last episode when she got caught hugging on Kirk when she thought they were going to die. So she took some time off.
She took some time off to reflect.
Yeah.
Kirk's like, I don't want to see you for the next week or so. So I got something to cover you.
Yeah. So Spock says that the landing party should be sending up a report momentarily. And then Kirk hands the little pad thing off to the yeoman, and then he straightens up in his chair, but he gets like some kind of back pain, and it like makes him wince. And Spock's like, hey, is there something wrong? And Kirk says that he thinks he's got a kink in his back. So the yeoman starts like massaging Kirk's back, and he's higher, a little bit higher, and push hard. And he's like, he says, dig it in there, Mr. Spock. But he stops when he sees that Spock walks away in front of him. So like he thought that Spock was massaging him. Like, do they have that kind of friendship where they just massage each other like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you're a good number one.
I don't know.
What was really funny is that he made her stop. Like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. He saw it's not Spock and he's like, ew.
Yeah.
I want to talk to HR about this.
But like, see, we were like a minute into this episode, and honestly, like that made me laugh so hard. Like, why? It's so absurd that he's that good of friends with Spock that he thinks like, oh, hey Spock, my back hurts, and he thinks Spock's just gonna like start massaging him.
Yeah,
it was so weird.
He's like, Spock is a logical person. He'll know that my back needs a rub.
Yeah, logic says that you need to give him a back rub.
That's a good friendship right there. Waiting for a friend to rub me or rub my back. Like, hey, bro. Like, go ahead, bro. Like, you massaging me now?
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Like, I know I don't like bringing up sexism, whatever. But I don't know if I can have a bro give me a massage. I'm sorry, we're boys, but you want to massage me? Like, we're friends. Like, nah. Maybe if I go to a stranger at a massage parlor, maybe I can do that. But like one of my friends, like, nah. You can't
Does it make it a difference if it's the Vulcan doing it?
Spock is like super strong.
Yeah.
So maybe he can really get those knots out.
Get those knots out good. Yeah. Give him the sweetest massages.
Oh my God. Do you think the Vulcans could open like a planet of massage parlors and just make a killing?
Oh my gosh.
If not, they should.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. So Kirk thanks the yeoman, and she suggests that he gets some sleep. And he's like, oh, I hear enough of that from Dr. McCoy. And Spock agrees with her, though, and says that, McCoy's correct. And he suggests that given what they've been through in the last 3 months, that every crew member could use a rest. And he's like, well, except for me, obviously, because I'm, superior and shit. Which is cool that we finally get kind of a time frame where we are, because all of the previous episodes have happened in the last 3 months. So, like, we're always, speculating how much time has passed between these weird events. Like, that's a lot to happen in 3 months.
Well, but I think you're taking that 3 months literally as in we've been watching 3 months. It could have been last 3 months of things we don't know about too. You see what I'm saying? Like it could have been 3 months. It could have been 3 months things going on that we didn't know about. It's like in the last 3 months we've been through a lot. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense too.
You see what I'm saying? So like I took it the other way. Even though you took it as in the show's been over 3 months. For me, I took it as in it could be any time period because they don't give you a time period.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like they just maybe the Romulan thing happened like 4 or 5 months ago when they just had a particularly rough last couple of months. Yeah, okay, that could be as well. Yeah, geez, so I wonder which one it actually is.
Yeah, see, I didn't know. When I said that, I kind of thought, I don't know which one it is.
If we could read the damn star dates, we would know. But I think at this point they were still kind of randomized, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, Kirk starts rubbing his eyes and he kind of grunts as he stands up from his chair. And then he exits the bridge, and on his way out, he asks Uhura to send McCoy's report to his cabin. We go down to the planet where Sulu and McCoy are just like walking through a wooded area near a pond. And Sulu remarks that there's no animals and there's no people, and they both kind of agree that they found the perfect spot. And Sulu asks if McCoy thinks that Captain Kirk will authorize a shore leave there. And McCoy says that the planet is like something out of Alice in Wonderland, and Kirk would have to go down to the planet to see it for himself. And he says that, while they each have their own problems, Kirk has his, and he's got theirs, and 430 other people's problems.
So they pick people up after people die, apparently.
Yeah, unless they had, 470 other people? Like before this, and now they're just down to 430.
Didn't we decide what the starting number was?
Yeah, what was the number of people on the... I thought it was 432. What number was it? I don't remember.
I think it's something when he was talking to Charlie, right? During Charlie X?
Yeah, it said something about 100 people. I forgot how many people there were. Man, that sucks.
Okay. Yeah, we do know. I've got it in my other notes, but I won't bother.
Yeah.
So Sulu leaves to go get some cell structure records from the nearby plants. And if there's one thing I've learned, like at this point, it's that characters, like they don't go do random stuff for no reason. Like he's not like, I'm going to go get some cell structure record from the nearby plants. And then they're never going to talk about that again. So I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be a plot point for this.
Yep.
But also, like, I really like how they're, wandering through this area talking about how beautiful it is, and it's literally just Ohio. Like they're just looking at like the most random like spot in Ohio. like it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen.
I thought the same thing. I was like, man, this place looks very, very Earth-like. Like this looks like down the street.
Yeah, like it's just there. It's summer in Ohio, like at a pond, and there's like, man, it's amazing. Like it looks beautiful.
Like, have you ever seen a pond before? Look how amazing this is.
Yeah, and like of all the places that they're, they go to check out this planet, they're looking for a place like, oh, maybe we could have shore leave. They don't, transport to a beach. Like they see all of this stuff, and they're like right in the middle of that forest. That's where we're gonna go. They don't
transfer to the pleasure planet, man. What are we doing on the shore leave here instead of the pressure planet? What are we doing here? I mean, technically, ironically, this could be a pleasure planet, but technically,
well, that's true.
It could be, but I'm just saying that I thought we go to pleasure planet. I thought there'd be green women everywhere, green men, people having the time of their lives.
Maybe Kirk got kicked out for a little while. Like, hey, you can't come back for a little while.
Oh God, could you imagine if he has this reputation of just like the guy that gets kicked out of all the space strip clubs just because he's like all about the women there? Like he shows up and they're like, not this asshole again. Like, come on, Kirk, I told you can't come back here.
Wow.
He really can't handle alcohol in large amounts.
No, especially not around women.
He's a frat boy.
That's why he's only ever drinking with Bones, because the doctor. Oh, you've had enough.
Yeah, and he's got like all the stuff to like sedate him if he starts to get too crazy.
Oh, jeez. He takes the shirt off like, I'm gonna run to the hallways.
Yeah, little does Bones know that Kirk's addicted to that sedate stuff, or that whatever you want to call it. So like he just gets drunk to the point where he gets knocked out, and that's what he's chasing.
That might be the only way he can fall asleep at this point.
We just made Kirk into like this awful guy, like hooked on drugs, just getting drunk so he can get his drugs. And, like, just like, get kicked out of strip clubs.
I respect you, Kirk. Don't let him hate on you. I respect you. I know you're a good guy. It's all right.
Yeah, so then McCoy, he wanders off and he runs into a big human-sized white rabbit wearing a coat. And the rabbit looks at its stopwatch and says that it's going to be late, and then it hops away real quick. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, are we doing this Alice in Wonderland thing?
I didn't see him eat any mushrooms, but at this point, I'm assuming he's tripping balls.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, right after the rabbit leaves, a girl in a blue dress runs up to McCoy and asks if he's seen a large white rabbit. And he just kind of points her in the direction, like, dumbfounded, just points her towards where the rabbit went. And then when the girl runs off, he just starts yelling for Sulu. Sulu comes running up and he's like, hey, what's wrong? And McCoy was like, yeah, he asked Sulu if he saw the girl and the rabbit. And Sulu's like, well, I didn't see shit, dude. Like, I was over here collecting plant stuff. Then I was waiting for like the lizard with the ladder and like the singing flowers, but none of that ever showed up. So after that, we do get the show opening and we get a really good captain's log because Kirk gives the star date. Like, he's really tired in the log and he's like, star date 3025, 0.3. Like, he doesn't know the star date.
It's really think about it.
Yeah, like, it's a really weird beginning of the log.
Like, it's very drawn out to let you know how exhausted he is and how tired he is and how he hadn't a chance to relax at all.
Yeah, it was really good. So they're still just like orbiting an uninhabited planet in the Omicron Delta region, and it's not Omicron Persei 8, and it's similar to how they remember Earth, and that's a Futurama joke, just so you know. Like, Dan, you probably got that one. Paul, I don't know if you've seen Futurama.
No idea what you're talking about. I've seen a couple episodes before, but not sure.
All right, come on, get up to speed here, guy.
Hey, man, I'm not about Futurama. Come on.
You have to watch everything in the history of everything to understand these deep references we're going to pull out here.
Though. I almost have.
That's true, yeah. So yeah, Kirk is in his cabin, and his new yeoman mentions that his name isn't on any of the shore parties. And he's like, well, I might be tired, but I'm not falling apart. And then he just kind of dismisses her. And we get some of that radio chatter in the background organizing the landing parties, which I really like to hear. It's like, just, again, letting us know that things are still moving.
Right.
So Spock comes into the room, and Kirk asks him which section of the ship he'd like to go to the planet with. And Spock is like, oh, that's not necessary. And he says that on his planet, to rest is to basically cease using energy, and that it's illogical to run up and down on green grass using energy instead of saving it. Like I feel like there's other ways to rest. Like, you don't have to go down to the planet and just like full on sprint up and down like a weirdo. But I don't know.
Yeah, I normally don't run to the grass when I'm trying to rest.
Yeah. Oh, that's all I do. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm really exhausted. I'm gonna go outside and sprint up and down hills.
Do you think Spock's planet is a pretty boring planet in general?
It has to be. Like, they can't do anything fun, I bet, because it's like illogical. Like, they probably don't watch TV, and they probably don't like play video games or anything. I bet they just read a lot and have like deep philosophical conversations, and that's probably about it.
I would ask, do you think the suicide rate is high for Vulcan, or would that just be illogical to kill yourself?
Yeah, it would just depend on whether that was the logical conclusion to whatever issue they were having, I guess. You think it's like a stigma there, or they're just like, oh yeah, dude over here decided to kill himself, and then they're like, yeah, that seemed a logical conclusion. Good for him.
Like, oh, I messed up this formula. I have to commit suicide.
Yeah.
On that note, sir, that is utterly ridiculous. I cannot believe you just concluded that.
What part?
Suicide was logical. Oh my God. What kind of podcast are we having here?
None of these characters are safe today, apparently.
Oh my God. He said, logically I should, what? Logically you should do what? Like, I'm your friend. They'd be like, yo, like, that answer all by yourself? Like, logically, that's what you thought about? Like, that's what you came up with? Like,
well, I would say that they celebrate him taking the logical action, but celebrations are probably illogical, so they probably just never mention it again.
It might be hard to kill themselves also, because they're pretty tough beings, so...
Yeah. Like, what does kill a Vulcan?
Jumping in hot lava, I'm assuming. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what to do?
They go to the volcano like, all right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Like, logically quit being a bitch and jump in, dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so during this whole thing, Kirk gets paged by Uhura, and she patches him through to McCoy, who's still down on the planet. And McCoy asks Kirk if he's beaming down, And he's like, either all of our probes are malfunctioning and all of our scouts are careless, or I am unfit for duty because I just saw a big-ass rabbit pull a gold watch from his vest and claim that he was late to something.
I give him credit for coming clean, though, and like, oh, hey, you might want to take me off.
Yeah, he's like, either everything has gone to shit and I am crazy, or, like, stuff's happening down here.
He's like, space madness has finally set in.
I wonder if that is an issue. Oh, God, we can't get onto that. We can't get onto Spock having space madness. It would be illogical.
Oh, my.
That's
what does it every time. Space madness.
Every time. Yeah, so Kirk like jokingly asks if the rabbit was followed by a little blonde girl, and McCoy just says like, yes, it was. Kirk says he's just going to take McCoy's report under consideration, and then he hangs up on him. So then Kirk tells Spock that McCoy's trying to get him down to the planet. He's like, he's just trying to trick me to get me down there to rest. And so Spock is like, hey, I found in McCoy's log that we have a crew member who's showing signs of fatigue, and the reaction time is down 9 to 12%. And he continues to say that the crew member is becoming irritable and quarrelsome, and he's refusing to take his rest and rehabilitation. And he's like, I understand that he has a right to refuse rest, but then Kirk cuts him off, and he's like, hey, any crewman, their rights end when the safety of the ship begins. And he tells him, he's
Checkmate.
like, he's like, I'm ordering that guy to go offshore or to go ashore and, get some rest. And he's like, what is that guy's name? And Spock goes, James Kirk. He's like, hey, enjoy yourself on that interesting planet. Yeah, he got him.
Yeah, when he did that, though, I thought that was real clever, by the way.
Yeah.
Like what?
Got him.
Like what a weird logical way to do it. Like, okay, I got something for you.
I do wonder where they got the numbers like 9 to 12%, or did he just make that up on the spot?
Well, I think it's real clever because like it shows Spock cracking a joke without cracking a joke. Like it's a huge joke. Like you set up early, then you do all those facts or whatever, and at the end that joke pays off. But the thing about him, he was so straightforward about it. But it was actually a big joke, and I don't think he even noticed it was a joke when he was doing it. But like, I don't know. So just so I thought it was cool. It showed Spock like cracking a joke in a way that I'm not sure if he was going for that or not, but it just made sense.
Yeah, and Kirk looked like super unamused. He's like, "Damn it, he got me."
Yeah.
But Dan, to your point, I mean, they would have to find a way to like measure performance, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how they would do it. But
when he was making his crew do like the reenacting like the test firing, like, oh hey, I need that 6% to be 100%.
Well, he said reaction time, so maybe he gave Kirk one of those exercise tests that the doc be given, and he was doing a lot less energy, a lot less stuff on that. So I'm assuming that test to do your reaction time and see how strong you are, makes you still fit. And he noticed that he was getting kind of the reaction time was lower, and that's why he put it in his notes. Maybe
9% would be a lot, though, wouldn't it? Or wouldn't you think?
I would think so. I mean, if you're in like a life or death situation, I would think that would be pretty important to be able to make decisions quickly. And maybe that's one of the things they were measuring is that, they just noticed that his time to make decisions and stuff has decreased or increased.
Yeah, because we haven't seen a full physical yet done on the show. We've seen
just like pedaling a wall bike.
Yeah, we've seen him in parts of it. So I'm assuming that during the ship, or whatever, so their physicals are also had to be mentals. I guess mentals? What the hell? Study? I don't know what that's called. A mental, whatever. Like mental physical, like test too. So I'm assuming they have to do both. Because you got to think about it. You're on the ship, you have to make all the decisions, and you got to get in shape too. So I assume they do both to make sure you're not getting space madness that they're talking about all the time too.
Right.
I wonder if the captain would have to get it more often than everyone else, though, just because he's the one that's leading the ship.
Yeah, I bet, with him being under an extreme amount of stress, I bet they like stress test the hell out of him like every so often.
I'm not sure. I know the captain was the one to order everybody's tests. I think it's up to his number one to make sure he takes one, because he probably wouldn't. Think about it. Kirk had no idea what was going on with him until Spock said something. So he probably a lot of times you got, like earlier they said Kirk has 430 other people's problems and his own. So he has so much going on that he probably has no time to even think about how much he needs to get tested or whatever. And you got to remind him, hey, this is going on with you. You need to sit back and relax. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. So I think it's more about that.
Yeah, they do kind of seem to be like they have like an overall set of rules from the Federation or whatever, but they kind of seem to be like mostly on their own out there and just like, at the judgment of the captain. So yeah, I bet he probably doesn't have to do those tests and things very often
Yeah,
because he just doesn't want to.
This doesn't want to. Yep, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so Spock tells him, he's like, hey, go enjoy yourself on that interesting planet. And he says that the scouts have detected no animals, artifacts, or force fields of any kind. So we go back down to the planet, and there's just like, it's a shot of like a rock by a pond, and the rock is on like a hinge, and it opens up, and there's just a revolver under it. I was like, what is this?
That was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. There was like a transporter noise, or it wasn't like a materialization noise. It was just.
Yeah, it was like the rock 3D printed a revolver underneath it. It's
Yeah,
like, here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so nearby there's 2 crewmen that are scanning some plants, and then Kirk and his yeoman beam down near them. And Kirk asks the crew, which the guy is Rodriguez, and the woman that's with him is Teller, and he asks if everything's all right. And Rodriguez says that they've completed their specimen survey, and Kirk is like, all right, beam that up to Spock, and then, get to enjoying yourselves down here. They point Kirk in the direction of Sulu and McCoy, and they start to head that way. So Kirk and his yeoman are just kind of walking through the grass and talking about how beautiful the planet of Ohio is. And they meet up with McCoy.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, right. So yeah, they meet up with McCoy, and Kirk is like, hey, you know any good rabbit jokes lately? And McCoy then points to like these huge rabbit footprints left in the dirt. And he's like, why don't you take a look at these? So Kirk starts following the footprints, and he's like, man, it would have taken an unusual creature to make those kinds of tracks, like almost like a big-ass rabbit. So he asks if Sulu can confirm what McCoy saw, and Sulu's like, nah, I was over there, checking out some plants and stuff. I didn't see anything.
He's like, I was doing my damn job.
Right, yeah. Dude, he was pumped about that, too. He was like, dude, check out, like, this plant, like, these grass and this tree over here. Like, I'm going to take so many samples. Like, he's their life sciences guy.
I was about to say, in the second episode, they established he's like a botanist, right?
Yeah, but they haven't mentioned it, though. But they haven't mentioned it for a long time, though.
Yeah, not for a while.
Yeah, like he was in the office, right? Episode, maybe the first pilot, the second episode, he was in that room. But after that, we haven't seen him mess with any kind of plants at all. He's been a communication officer this whole time. So I think,
which is a good callback, though.
Yeah, but I think it's more about maybe they didn't know what he was when he put him in the show.
Yeah, I feel like somebody like went back and watched the first episode, and they're like, "Shit, we should use that again."
Yeah, like they didn't know he was a communication officer. Like, oh, we need to keep him in the show more. Oh, make communication officer, okay, and they kind of forgot about the whole life plant thing.
So, Kirk gets his communicator, and he calls the bridge of the Enterprise and tells them to halt the shore parties coming to the planet. Because he wants to, he wants proof of whatever's going on, and he wants to find out if it's harmless or not before they can continue their shore leave. So then they hear just like gunshots off in the distance, and they run in the direction that it came from while there's more shots ringing out, which is a really weird thing to hear in this show, is just like a gunshot. Like, we've heard phasers and all these other crazy sounds. It's just like a gunshot sounded really out of place.
Yeah, it sounded weird, but it was also really cool to bring it in there.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know, like, I mean, it's something we hear in movies and stuff all the time now, but it's not something we've heard in this yet. Like, you wouldn't think we ever would have. But so yeah, they run to the source, and they see that Sulu's just firing a revolver that he found, the other one that the rock 3D printed. He's just over there having a good old time too. He's just like, I found this gun, and just starts shooting it.
He starts shooting it. Like, I'm like,
the rock also made bullets for the gun, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. He starts shooting. I thought it was kind of weird myself. Like, this whole episode has an issue with, like, a small issue behind it. It's that this episode is fun, but everybody isn't acting as themselves.
Yeah, they're all weird.
They're all weird. So the whole time I'm thinking, oh, maybe whatever's going on is affecting them, like, mentally, like their mind, and making them act different.
The last time that happened, Sulu was playing with a sword in the hallways of the Enterprise.
Yeah. Dude, he just wants to kill stuff. Sulu's just anytime he goes crazy, he's got swords, he's got guns.
He even makes the comment that he doesn't have this one in his collection, meaning that he's a collector of ancient weapons.
Yeah, so like this is where Kirk just wants to know where Sulu got the gun or the weapon, and Sulu says, he's like, I've always wanted one like this. And he says he just found it laying on the ground, and that there hasn't been one made like that in a couple of centuries. So yeah, like he knows his guns because I forget what he says it is. It's some kind of like special edition or something like that. And yeah, he's like just super pumped about it, and so he just picks it up and starts firing it randomly. But also, like, I was curious to know, how do they know what a gunshot sounds like? I can't imagine any of these people have ever heard, except for maybe Sulu, because he's an enthusiast, but I can't imagine any of them have ever heard, just a regular gunpowder gunshot in their lives.
Unless they were going off like movies they've watched, like, really, really old movies. They're all fan of the John Wick movies.
Yeah, I figured Kirk would be a fan of, like, the classics like Face Off and Demolition Man. He loves those old classics.
You gotta put those in the rotation.
Nah, John Wick. He be a fan of John Wick. He like, yeah.
Yep. He loves, John Wick, the Bourne trilogy. He loves all that stuff. So Kirk then just takes the weapon from Sulu, and Sulu is explaining to him how it works. Gunpowder, blah, blah, blah. And Yeoman Barrows is we finally get her name. So she notices more rabbit tracks near them, and Kirk confirms with McCoy again that their probes didn't see anything on the planet, so they can't figure out, where these tracks are coming from. So Kirk then orders Barrows and Sulu to find out where the tracks came from, while he and McCoy go back to where they just were so they can look around. I'm like, oh, dude, splitting up has always worked so well in the past. Why not just continue that trend? Like, nothing bad ever happens when they split the party.
Well, he's also a big fan of Scooby-Doo, and that's what they do also.
Yeah. Yeah, they got the mystery to
all
solve.
right, gang, we're going to split up and go look for a mystery.
Okay, so, in that instance, would Kirk or Spock be Fred? I think it would be Spock, because Fred's pretty capable, right? He's usually the one that puts everything together.
I did notice something, by the way. Right, I wrote the note, and I look at my note. You know how the planet was echoing when they were yelling at each other?
Yeah, like a really weird echo. Yep.
And I was like, why is it echoing? If there's nothing there, it still doesn't mean it's going to echo like that. Like the way, I know how sound works. Like, just because the planet is empty doesn't mean that when you yell in the middle place is going to echo.
I was just curious, and like maybe that's, and this is 100% me just like making this up, but I wonder if it's like an effect that they used to just show that people were yelling, because the volume didn't really change. Yeah. And I don't know how good they were at like sound mixing and sound mastering back then. So maybe there was like slap an echo on it so people know instinctively that they were, yelling.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. I can take that.
But I don't know. Like I have no clue.
Yeah, I wrote a note down. It just sounded weird.
So as Kirk and McCoy are walking around, some kind of like weird antenna pops up from behind them and like just starts following them, like almost like it's listening or something, like a directional microphone. And Kirk then notes how unusual the shore leave is becoming, and McCoy jokes that it could have been worse if Kirk had been the one to see the rabbit, and then they both laugh. And this was the point when I was like, man, they're just acting really weird. Like, that wasn't even funny, and they're both just like laughing hysterically at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. That's the whole of the episode. Like, it was strange.
Yeah, it was like just a really weird, like uncanny thing.
Yeah.
But then Kirk starts telling a story about how at the academy he was always the butt of some jokes put on by a guy named Finnegan, which was another cadet at the academy. Like basically he got bullied by this guy, which is weird to think that somebody bullied Captain Kirk, but he wasn't captain then. But they find some more tracks, and then they find the footprints of the girl that was following the rabbit. And Kirk again decides that they should split up even more and each follow a different set of footprints, which is, again, always a good idea. Like, you were 4, then you were 2, and now you're just going to be 1, and nothing can possibly go wrong.
He's got a full crew up on the Enterprise again. He can spare a few more.
Yeah, he's willing to risk them. He's like, we just replenished. It's time to, start knocking them off again. But McCoy makes this weird joke about how he has a personal grudge against the rabbit, and then they just go their separate ways. And like, he's super pumped to be following this rabbit instead of kind of like weirded out and wondering what's going on. But as Kirk is walking, someone calls out his name, and he looks over and he sees Finnegan leaning against a tree. A dude wearing actually, it's kind of a neat silver shirt. Like, I liked the silver uniform.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I thought it was really, really cool. But at this moment, I looked at his chest and I saw a little star emblem on it. And then I started looking at everybody else's emblem on their shirt. I didn't notice that they were different. Like, there was like the symbols inside them are different for each. Like Bones has his own symbol, and the Yeoman has their own symbol.
Yeah, for like their different departments.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until this episode.
Yeah, I think I first noticed that in the menagerie, like the first one, when they went to, like in the very beginning, when they went to the planet and were like talking with the people from command or whatever. I saw that.
Yeah, I noticed the wrist things.
So not long ago.
That. Yeah, I actually know about the cadets or whatever is they don't have any wrist things either. They don't have any wrist marks. Just that's
they don't have any their rank.
Shirt. Yeah, I think that, and I also think that shirt's way cooler than all the other shirts all the guys wear.
Oh yeah,
like I'd wear that shirt. Like if I was gonna do a Star Trek, I don't know, cosplay or something like that, that'd be the thing I'd wear. That silver shirt. Those were cool.
I wonder if people do go for that. You see a lot of like the reds and golds and blues.
Mm-hmm.
So Finnegan then approaches Kirk, and he's just like kind of laughing, and he says that you never know when he's gonna strike, and he just punches Kirk in the jaw, so just knocks him right on his ass. And Kirk gets up and he's smiling, and he just lunges at Finnegan, and then they just have a fight. But it gets broken up when they hear a woman scream, and Kirk just gets up and runs towards the screaming while Finnegan just taunts him. It was such a weird thing. So McCoy and Kirk meet up, and they find Yeoman Barrows huddled by a tree, and her uniform's all ripped up. And she says that she was attacked by a man in a cloak wielding a dagger with jewels in it. And McCoy's like, well, it sounds like Don Juan.
Time out. You can't jump to Don Juan that quick. Really? That quick you jump to Don Juan? Like,
I would have expected that from Spock.
yeah. Like Spock would have been like, oh, logically speaking, like you jumped to Don Juan pretty quick. Like you didn't say what it looked. You didn't say what color it was, what color his hair was. Like, oh, what did that kind of look like? Oh, it had like nothing. Like he was to Don Juan really quick. Like that's my issue.
Yeah, there's only been one person in the history of humans to ever have a dagger with jewels in it. And that's the one.
It was Don Juan. Yeah, really quick.
The only one.
Yeah, and this is where I noticed too, like the trees and some of the plants have a weird red spray paint on them.
Well, I noticed that
I noticed
this
that
time,
too.
but I thought it was because she got attacked by something and was blood. But now that you mention it, there's no blood anywhere, so why would it be like that?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And then I noticed like nobody was bleeding, so I have no idea what any of that was about. It was really weird.
Oh. Okay.
Those old bleeding trees in Ohio.
Yeah, I forgot about the Ohio bleeding trees.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
I got the bleeding tree. I remember that. Yep.
So she agrees that she thinks it could have been Don Juan, and says that she was just thinking about how the planet is like some kind of storybook, and that all a girl needs is a Don Juan. And if they're not like, I can't believe they're not
Well,
putting this together by now.
Yeah, it took them a long time to get to where I thought they would get after about, I mean, these are like, they get, like a lot of times they get somewhere so fast that I kind of disagree with it. I'm like, okay, that's too fast, like the whole thing earlier. But like by now, they should have got to this part.
Yeah.
Like by now, particularly when they're so smart in all these situations. I felt like they were acting really weird. I'll wait to the end. I can rant at the end.
I just thought about this, but maybe I can chalk this up to the fact that they were all just overtired and exhausted. Maybe that's how I'm going to justify the fact that Kirk is dumb as shit right now, and that nobody's putting anything together.
Well, that 9% is really starting to show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more like 90% now. He can't even remember how to tie his shoes at this point. So Kirk asks where Sulu went, and Barrows says that he ran after Don Juan. And so Kirkton just leaves McCoy with Barrows, and he goes looking for Sulu, and we see the antenna following him around. It's like he's running around looking for Sulu. And like he's like just sprinting all over the place, calling out for Sulu.
You know what's weird about that scene? That the antenna is pretty big. How could you not see it?
Yeah, well, he had his back to it most of the time, didn't he? I think we had a shot too where it was like higher up.
True, but it looked like it was following him. You think you would hear someone following you was, a large object in their hands, if that's what was happening.
Yeah, he's just not with it this episode. He's real tired. So then he runs into like this desert oasis kind of area, and then he sees a woman that he says is named Ruth. And Kirk's life is just filled with good-looking women, and this is no different here.
Yeah, he had the type to go for the blondes.
Oh yeah,
we haven't noticed like a brunette from his past yet.
I think Helen from the Christmas party, maybe.
Oh, yep, that's true.
Yeah,
that's just because that's all that was available at the time. Like, if there were two women and one was blonde, he probably would have gone for the blonde.
But you got to remember, the stereotype at this time was blonde hair and blue eyes is beauty. That's how it was at the time.
Yeah.
So most people in here that are going to be attractive for him is going to be somebody blonde hair and blue eyes. It's just product of the time.
Yeah. So Ruth just approaches him and kisses him. But she's like making out with his cheek. Like she didn't kiss his lips. She started kissing him on the cheek, but I'm pretty sure she gave his cheek tongue. Like it was real weird. So we go to a commercial break while she's just making out with the side of his face.
Just how he likes it.
Yeah, I mean he's not pushing her away.
Maybe she's nibbling on his ear. Okay, I understand. Maybe she get.
She's wasting no time. Yeah, so we get the captain's log, details what happened so far. No new information there, and then Kirk tries to call McCoy, but he's getting distracted by Ruth, and he's like, "Hey, you haven't aged in 15 years. Like, how are you even here?" And she says that none of that matters. But then he gets interrupted by McCoy calling to ask if he found Sulu yet. So Kirk says that he hasn't found Sulu, but
he's like, nah, he's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure he's all right. He was talking like that really monotone, like I'm super distracted because I'm about to get laid kind of voice.
Right.
Which again, like it felt like there was something influencing like his brain, like something in the air that was just making him act different. So McCoy's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he's just like, "Yes."
Yep.
But then he gets another call. Like, what a terrible time for your phone to keep going off. This time, it's Rodriguez saying that he saw a whole flock of birds. Dan, I'm just going to call you tomorrow when I see a bird. Just say, "Hey, I saw some birds."
But I think it's more about the fact that there were even birds in the first place.
Right, but it's just so weird. He's like, "Captain, I just saw a shit ton of birds."
Yeah, I know, it's random.
But then Kirk is like, "Well, you like birds, don't you?" And Rodriguez is like, "Well, yeah, I like them fine."
Not really.
Yeah, right? He's just like, "Oh, yeah, like birds are cool, I guess." But I mean, I never really thought about it. But then he mentions that, their instruments, how they hadn't picked anything up, but Kirk just cuts them off and says that their instruments are defective and that, hey, there must be some life forms on the planet. So Rodriguez says that their surveys couldn't have been that wrong. And Kirk orders all the search parties to rendezvous with a Glade because he just wants to know what's going on at this point. So he has this little moment with Ruth before she leaves, and then he gets another call from Spock. Spock says that he's getting strange readings from a power field on the planet, and it's a highly sophisticated type of energy that's draining their power while it increases. So, like, whatever is draining their power is also increasing in power. But it's having an effect on their communications. So Kirk wants to know if they can pinpoint the source, and Spock says that it seems to be some sort of industrial activity under the planet's surface. So Kirk's like, "All right, I'm going to go continue my investigation," and then he just hangs up on Spock. So Barrows and McCoy, they're just like having a kind of weird conversation as the antenna is listening in, and Barrows mentions that in a place like that, a girl should be dressed like a fairy tale princess. I'm just... it's so childish. It's just so weird. But then, like, she's like, in a place like this, like fucking Ohio. Like, I don't think I've never seen anybody dressed like that in Ohio.
It's not like it's a castle and it's like the night times and the maiden times or whatever. It's like, oh, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, she's like, "Man, these ants and cicadas really remind me of all the fairy tales I've ever read." So then McCoy just makes a joke that she would have whole armies of Don Juans fighting, to fight it off, and he'd be there too. And I'm like,
yeah,
because he's like, I'd be fighting for you too. And I'm like, wait, first of all, I want to see this army of Don Juans now that he's thought about it.
Yeah.
And second of all, does McCoy have a weird princess fetish?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, like McCoy seems to have this weird princess fetish.
Well, this is actually the first time we've seen him talk to women like this, right? Or second time.
Yeah.
The first time was, I think, when he went to that the space place, and like one of them was the X or something like that.
Yeah.
And then this time it's this one. So
he likes to get a little frisky on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little princess outfit. But I know it's Doc talking. I was like, "Oh, Doc gets the girl this time. That's cool."
Yeah,
because that's kind of a reverse situation.
Yeah, it's weird that she went for him instead of Kirk. Like, maybe Kirk's just not her type.
Yeah, like it was just random to me. I thought, oh, okay, like Doc gets an episode of him, talking to a female. But once again, like I gotta wait to the end. I gotta wait to the end for my rant. But the dialogue and the way everybody's acting is just it's contradictory to their characters. Like it's just. Yeah, keep going. I'll wait to the end.
I kind of like to think that there's some type of spore on the planet at this point that's all getting them really high.
Yeah, just messing up.
I'm not sure what it is at this point.
I think this one was just because McCoy was like, he's always had this princess fetish and he's never gotten the opportunity, and now he has the opportunity, so he's just going for it. He's just going for it. He's like, put the dress on.
Why is she wearing the hat then?
Yeah.
That's because I clarified that hat. Wow, that's all. I couldn't say nothing. Like the hat was so astounding. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like
The dress also was not the very best for a princess either.
It's Ohio princess.
Well, no. Yeah, the maiden,
okay,
like the maiden princess.
You have a point. Ohio princess dress.
Yeah. This is where like they have this little moment together, and then she sees a dress with a hat and a veil, like the one she was talking about, and McCoy gets super creepy. He's like, "Go put on the dress," and she's like, "Oh, I'm afraid to." Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I want to see you in it. Like, please put that dress on." And she's like, "Oh, all right."
Like, I'll be a professional, only peek if I have to.
Right, yeah. So she goes like behind some shrubs to just change. And she's like, "Oh, don't peek." And he's like, "Well, I'm a doctor, and when I peek, it's in the line of duty." I'm just like, dude, McCoy's just super fucking creepy in this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure somebody in our life used that line on somebody before.
Hey, his game is not as strong as Kirk's.
Yeah, somebody has used that line before.
I'm telling you,
when I peek, it's
he's
okay.
overcome by the fact that he's gonna get to finally have his princess fetish fulfilled. He's been waiting his entire life for this, ever since he read his first like golden book. So he turns around so that she can change, and then he gets a call from a Rodriguez. I don't know why I keep stuttering on that, but his signal's not coming through too well, and he tells McCoy about Kirk's order to go back to the Glade, and at this point, like, while he's talking to Rodriguez, McCoy keeps, like, trying to sneak peeks at Barrows while she's changing. Just being a creep. But they lose contact, and so then we go elsewhere where Rodriguez and Tiller are trapped by a tiger for some goddamn reason. So he tries to call McCoy for help, but the communicator isn't working. And then that's just the end of that scene. Like, they do nothing with this tiger at this point. They just leave them there trapped by a tiger.
I thought it was very, very useless and a weird situation. Because it'd be different if we saw them doing the plants and they had said something about a tiger or said something that made a tiger appear. Like, there probably was something there and they cut it out for time in the show. I'm assuming they did.
Right.
Somebody had to, but the tiger just appeared. So, like, it was kind of just there for no reason to us, particularly, pretty much.
But, like, which one of these fucking weirdos is just walking around thinking about tigers? Like, they're just doing their job, and Rodriguez is over there just thinking, you know what I like? Tigers. It's like, that's how they got one.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe they're big Spider-Man fans, and he has her call him, Tiger, like MJ does. Hey, Tiger.
Yeah. So they got a real tiger.
See.
I thought maybe he was thinking of like Frosted Flakes.
I just wish they would explain that.
They're talking about Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, no, Paul. Yeah, it was really like just random. It seemed like there was something missing. Yeah, we go back to McCoy and Barrows, and she has changed into the dress, and McCoy is like just like super smiling weird while we go back to the ship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, if she got this dress, there better be that whole damn army of Don Juans, but we never get it. Back on the Enterprise, Spock calls Kirk, who is looking to him for answers, and Spock suggests that, hey, maybe you're all just hallucinating. And Kirk mentions how Finnegan punched him in the jaw, so he's like, I definitely didn't hallucinate the pain of that. But they start to lose signal, and Spock is like, hey, should I come down there to help? Because you guys like aren't doing shit. And Kirk says no, but he says that, they're armed with phasers and there hasn't been any real danger, except for like the tiger and the guy with the knife, and no real danger yet.
Yeah, but the thing is, he hadn't seen that though himself. He hasn't seen.
Well, he knew about the knife attack, yeah. Remember, he's the one that met up with her.
Oh, the Don Juan. The Don Juan part. Okay, you're right. Yeah.
And then, Sulu just firing randomly into the forest is a bit of a danger, I feel like.
Yeah, that's never safe just to fire a gun randomly.
Yeah. But like, what do you guys, if Spock had gone to the planet at this point, I was like, what would appear for him? What is he thinking about? It's just like big calculators and computers and shit? Do you think he fantasized about things that are not logical?
An old Apple computer just appeared like, oh, that was from 98.
Yeah. But seriously, like, what would he fantasize about that would show up on there?
Maybe being the captain himself.
Remember when he was influenced to the alcohol, he was complaining about how he wanted love and wanted to be with somebody.
Oh yeah.
So maybe his fantasy really is just maybe a relationship with somebody or something.
Yeah.
A female Vulcan.
Yeah. So at this point, Kirk gets distracted by some geese that are flying by, and he just hangs up on Spock. He's like, oh, sweet geese, and just fucking hangs up on him.
He's like, oh, the birds.
Yeah. Which again, we have geese in Ohio. I firmly believe they're just in Ohio. I'm not gonna let that go. So elsewhere, Sulu's walking around, and then a samurai comes up from like a trapdoor in the ground and attacks him. And Sulu tries to shoot the samurai with his phaser, but his phaser won't work. And if he had his gun, he'd have been fine, but Kirk took that. And
yeah, Kirk just took his only way to defend himself.
Yeah, there's actually a decent little bit of choreography between those two. Like, it's nothing crazy. The samurai just takes a couple of good swings, but, you know, Sulu ducks him and gets out of the way. But that guy playing the samurai went, like, full swing on those, though. So, like, it was really good.
Of course, the Asian guy gets the samurai after him. Come on now.
Yeah, he's just walking around thinking about samurai.
Come on, bro. You been around thinking about samurais for fun? Like, oh, you know, like samurai. Like, oh, samurai. No, man. That's undercover. That's undercover stereotypical racist, sir.
That's the weird thing about this whole episode for me is just the weird shit that these people are randomly thinking about. Like, Sulu's out here trying to solve a mystery, and he's like, you know what I haven't thought about in a while? A samurai. Like, what are these guys thinking of?
I can be honest with you guys. I didn't watch the last 10 minutes of the show.
What?
So I don't know how it concludes. I'm gonna find out because I watched it after watching it.
Oh,
so I have no idea exactly how it ends. So that's why all my answers are literally how they are.
Did you just say fuck this? I'm not doing this.
No, I had so much stuff going on.
Real life stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so much going on that got all the way to the last 10 minutes. I think, you know what, 10 minutes left. I'll notice it when I get there.
Yeah.
So So the way they're acting, unless they explain it to me toward the end, I'm hoping at the they explain to me what's going on. I'm gonna dog this episode really, really bad. So,
well, you're gonna be somewhat disappointed then. I'm just not gonna let you know
because who the hell thinks about samurais walking by?
Yeah,
like, random as hell. Because 9 times out of the time, as a man, let's know what's on my mind is definitely females. Or females with females and other females, 99% of the time. Okay, and 1% of the time it's video games.
It's that 1% where you're thinking about like Godzilla or something. Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's 98% probably movies, you know, and random female stuff. Then you got 1% video games and 1% other stuff. But so all their fantasies that keep popping up, I just feel like it's so random and not thought out. Me personally, it's just stupid to me.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fair point because where's the food at?
Yeah, like it's like, and it is like it's situations, but it's not like items. Like people keep popping up, but why aren't things popping up too? Like buildings and things like that. Like all these small things I keep.
Mine would be like there'd be like a fucking stack of Baconators or like, you know, Bacon Kings or Whoppers or something.
Yeah, like food. Yeah, like all these random things in my head. Like I knew there was like maybe the thoughts coming to life, and I thought it's the thoughts they're picking at me particularly are just not really big or not really important to me. I don't know. I find it a tad bit annoying.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Keep going.
Yeah. So Sulu runs to Kirk, who is trying to call McCoy on his communicator, not having any luck, and he tries to explain to Kirk that the samurai was chasing him, but now it's just gone. And then this is where I noticed there's like some really weird kind of wind chime noise going on in the background. I don't know if like it just started, but it's the first time I noticed it.
I didn't notice that.
Which again, you know, Ohio. That's a constant here.
Yeah. The wind chimes, yep.
Yeah. So they discuss the plan to meet at the Glade, and Sulu shows Kirk that their phasers don't work. Like, he tries to fire it, nothing happens. And then suddenly Spock just comes down from the ship, but the transporter is having trouble getting him there. So he's like kind of phasing in and out. And I'm like, dude, I bet that would make you like sick as fuck. Like, I bet you would just puke nonstop after that. That has to be absolutely terrible. Because you're kind of in both places at once, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, wouldn't that be painful because you're being reassembled?
Yeah, but I think that the big thing is Spock didn't make any reference to him realizing that something was wrong as he was coming.
No.
Like, oh, that took longer than normal or things like that. So I'm not sure Spock even noticed. I think only they noticed looking at him. So I wonder, but they didn't mention it to him. They're like, hey, it's like we saw you, but you weren't coming in. You just now came through. Like, there's something going on. Like, it was just it's a weird thing for me not to mention that, or him not to notice that it took him a long time to materialize.
Yeah, well, they also, every time that they transport, they stay perfectly still. And I'm sure that that's just because of the way that the effects were going to work at the time. Like, it's much easier to have them, you know, hold that pose or whatever. But, like, what happens if you are just moving around a shit ton while you're being transported somewhere? Like, I wonder if that messes everything up. So maybe he's, like, trapped there knowing that this is going wrong, but he knows he can't move because it'll make it worse. Like, he's just sitting there in his own personal hell for, like, 30 seconds.
I think it'd be cool in the future if there's a transport incident and then they can find out what happens when they get materialized. Where exactly do you go?
Yeah, like just a good explanation of how it works.
You get a finish how it works. Yeah, we see how it works. We don't know how it works though.
Yeah, like we know that it split Kirk into two at one point, and we never really got an explanation of how that happens. Just a malfunction split him into two people. So So Spock is like, hey, I had to come down here because our communicators aren't working, and now the transporter's basically useless because that's really all the power that we had. So he says that the power field that he found is sucking up all their energy, and that he was able to transport himself, before it was too late. Then we go back to the pond where McCoy and Barrows are walking along, and Bones thinks that he hears somebody, but she's like, hey, I'm kind of scared right now. And he's like, well, a princess shouldn't be afraid when you have a brave knight to protect her. And that was it. That was that scene.
Creepy. It's creepy. Keep going. It's creepy.
Yeah, so we go back to Kirk, Sulu, and Spock, who are all together now. And then they hear the tiger roaring, and they decide to go investigate it. And Kirk tells them to spread out. And I'm like, fucking why? Like, okay, stop spreading out. But also, you hear a tiger, and you're just going to go.
Why are you... Yes, why are you going after the tiger? Let's find it. Together, right? Because Spock is the one with super strength over here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going with Spock.
And Kirk's like, oh, I've never seen a tiger before. Like, let's go check this thing out. And then they just, he seemed like they were in a big hurry, and then they just calmly walk towards the tiger. Like, they have no reason to run. There's like, hey, you want to go see a tiger?
Well, you don't want to startle the tiger.
At this point, though, if I was Kirk, I would be wondering if Spock was even real, or if he was just there because there's weird shit going on, and maybe he was thinking of Spock.
I actually honestly wondered that also when he beamed down, if he was an imaginary or not.
So we go back to McCoy, and he sees a knight on horseback approaching them, and he's like, oh, this isn't real, it's just hallucinations, and they can't harm me or us. And then the knight charges with his lance and just fucking impales him. Just absolutely impales him. Drives that lance right through him.
Which is weird about that he had that thought process, because she's wearing different clothes. Like, if they would have to be real.
Yeah. So in other words,
she would be naked if she wasn't.
So in other words, the genius doctor forgot that Don Juan ripped her clothes earlier. Right. And now this hallucination, he forgets that he can just stab him. I mean, he's not a genius or oh my God, he started. He's not a genius or a Star Trek officer. I mean, of course not. He can't put two and two together. Like, I'm just gonna let it stab me because they can't affect us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I'll
rant later. Let's just.
I was fully expecting this to be one of those things where it turns out that he's right and it just goes through him, but it definitely went through him, but through his chest. It didn't phase through. It just straight fucking stabbed him. So Kirk and Sulu show up, and Kirk kills the knight with a revolver, which is something I never thought I would see, is Captain Kirk fire a revolver at a knight on horseback and kill him. It's just it's the weirdest shit.
I got an issue for this too. My issue for this is, how many bullets are in that gun, bro?
Yeah,
he's fired more than 6 altogether at this point.
Bruh, how many bullets in that gun? Because my boy Zulu was popping out shots earlier. I didn't count how many shots there were. I forgot to.
Sulu's dream gun never has to reload.
Okay, no. Okay, you can say that now. They didn't specify that in this show. Okay, so now I got an issue. I swear Sulu popped at least 6 shots earlier. Maybe he didn't. I should go back and count. I forgot to count. So I'm just saying, he popped all those shots earlier, and then magically Kurt has the gun with a bunch of bullets in it.
Yeah, or he just for some reason Kirk is always carrying around a pocket full of revolver rounds just in case, and they finally came in handy. He's like, finally, it's been 10 years.
The Boy Scout, you never.
At the review, I've seen that Kurt shot 3 shots at the night. Yeah, 3 shots at the night. I'm going to go back in a little bit, and I'm going to see how many Sulu shot earlier and make it count.
I want to say Sulu fired somewhere between 3 and 5. I want to say it might have, maybe closer to 5. But I don't know for sure. So they go and they run, and they check on McCoy, but he's dead. McCoy's just dead. And I was like, oh, all right, blood spot and everything. And we go to a commercial break and come back just to another captain's log explaining the situation. And then, Barrows is just breaking down and crying and blaming herself for McCoy's death. And Kirk tries to, bring her out of it and kind of console her a bit. But Sulu calls Kirk over to the knight, and they find out that it's basically just a dummy in a suit. There's not a real person in there. And I really like in this scene that, 2 people get dead, yes. 2 people get killed, and Sulu's just like, oh, sweet, a dead body. I better go check that out. He just runs over and starts checking out this dead knight. Kirk says that he doesn't understand what's going on, but he's going to find out before they leave the planet, and he calls over Spock, who gets the tricorder from Sulu, and Spock starts scanning the dummy because apparently Sulu couldn't do that. Like, I don't know if he can't read the tricorder.
He can only do
but
plants. He can't do real people.
Yeah.
I don't understand a lot of small subtleties in this thing.
Yeah, but then Spock says that the dummy's skin closely resembles the cellular casting that they use for wound repairs. So I'm gonna guess that like they kind of have maybe some kind of like 3D printed wound repair thing. You just slap it on you like a Band-Aid, but it becomes like actual skin or something. But he says that the basic cell structure is pretty much the same as the plants that are there, and that all of the animals and people must be being manufactured. So Kirk wants to know why these specific things are being made, and then he's just like, he pokes the dummy's cheek real hard. I don't know why. Like, I'm such a... He's just like stabbing his finger into this dummy's cheek really hard.
For a second, I thought it was a person that was just sitting there really still.
I thought that too.
With a face, whatever. So when he poked it, I thought, oh, and then I saw the skin. I was like, oh, it really is a dummy. Like for a second, I thought it would be like a person that just didn't move.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, I thought it was like a person in makeup. So Kirk's just there fingering this dummy's cheek, and they hear an airplane. And Rodriguez tells Teller about the funny air vehicles that they used to use in the wars. And she's like, oh, is this thing going to hurt us? And he says, well, only if it makes a strafing run. And then the planes make a strafing run. So they're getting shot at by the airplanes. They're trying to run away. And they run into the tree line. And Teller just runs directly into a tree and knocks herself out. Like just runs face first into a tree. Like, looking at it the whole time and everything.
Well, wasn't he, like, holding her hand, like, running her alongside him?
Yeah, what's funny is, like, he's on the left, and I think she's on the right, and then he's holding her hand, and they're running, and then she lets go of his hand and crosses behind him to the left and slams into the tree. Like, she was just, like, inexplicably drawn to it. It just slams into the tree.
That tree came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Hey, if she was thinking about it, it might have. So, back with Kirk, Spock, and Sulu and Barrows, they're watching the planes fly by, and Sulu notices that McCoy and the Black Knight have been dragged away. Their bodies are just missing. So Spock's like, hey, I got an idea. And he asks Kirk what he was thinking of before he saw everything that he saw. And Kirk's like, well, I was thinking of my days at the Academy. And then suddenly Finnegan is back, and he's calling out to Kirk again. And Finnegan just like runs off, and Kirk orders Spock and Sulu to find McCoy's body, and he says that Finnegan is his problem. And Spock's like, this is not a good idea. And Kirk's like, that's an order. Go find them bodies. I'm going to go chase after this Finnegan guy. And then Kirk's just like hauling ass through through the forest, and then they come to like a desert area. Like Shatner was really moving. Like he was just full on sprinting here.
Hey, he really wanted to kick his ass.
Yeah.
Why is this episode so annoying to me? Why is Kirk chasing him by himself?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Multiple times they do this.
All the people are there, but they keep doing this split off solo thing. I don't get why.
That is the weakness of the Enterprise crew.
He's too smart to do something this stupid. That's my issue with the whole damn episode. I'm done now. My turn to go.
Here we go.
My turn to go. I'm done. Everybody in this episode is acting so stupid to what they normally are. What are we doing this episode? Like, why is everybody acting so stupid? Like, everybody's making dumb decisions, thinking about dumb stuff when this is the Enterprise, and they're full of smart people. Yep. Like, I don't get, like, it's just a bunch of dumb decisions and dumb, like, this show was too smart and this crew was too smart to act this stupid in this situation. Because it would take me 10 minutes to figure out what the hell was going on this planet. It shouldn't take this long to figure this out. Because you made it too easy at the beginning. If you'd have made it harder to figure it out, then I wouldn't make it a big deal. But like, we figured it out 5-10 minutes in. They should have figured it out quick. Like, they didn't figure out. It took them this long to figure out. It's slightly annoying when his characters are too smart to be this dumb.
Well, it's especially weird coming off the back of the episode of the Romulan encounter. Like, that was a very serious episode, and now we just have this obviously like super goofy episode.
Well, no, I'm okay with it being goofy and fun, but like if you say, "Oh, like I'm not sure, I'm gonna find out in a minute." I like I haven't seen the last 10 minutes. You'll find, the chemical out there has people to act childlike and messes with their brains, and make dumb decisions. I could have let this whole episode go that quick. If that's what the end result is, I can apologize. But overall, every decision they're making is not very smart Star Trek character like.
No.
So, like, if you want to make the episode like the episode earlier when everybody was under influence of the chemical and they all were acting different, that made sense to me. They're acting different, because they were under the influence of chemical. This whole time, we're going through all stuff right now, and they're making decisions contrary to how they would act forever. Like 90% of the decisions in the episode don't make any sense to me for the characters.
Yeah.
And that's what it's annoying me this whole time.
This one, like, it really has the feel of an early episode when they were still developing the characters, but it's not. Like, it's not something that was filmed earlier and that we're getting, later. It's just fucking weird is all it is. Like, a new team of writers came in and was like, oh, we're going to make this a comedy.
It's weird. It's weird, awkward, and uncomfortable. This whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to be this. I don't know. It's annoying me.
Yeah.
And I slowly go through it and I'm like, oh, ignore this, ignore that. But slowly it's annoying me because, like I said, I don't get it.
Yeah. But we're gonna continue on, and
go.
Kirk is following. He's like, nope, we're done. Screw it. We're not gonna continue on. Screw it. We're ending it right here. So yeah, Kirk is following Finnegan to the desert area, and we get like some really goofy ass music playing. And he finally catches Finnegan, and Finnegan attacks him and beats him up a little bit. Like, Kirk really kind of gets his ass kicked here, which is interesting to see. And then Kirk out of nowhere,
it's a pretty fun fight though.
Yeah, like it's there's a little bit of back and forth. There's some decent punches and stuff, and then Kirk like just delivers the worst drop kick I've ever seen, I think. And Finnegan finds some kind of like wooden pole out of nowhere and just breaks it over Kirk's back. So Finnegan just like knocks Kirk down, and just starts taunting him. He's like, oh, you're older and I'm still, as young as I was 15 years ago. And then they fight a little bit more, and Kirk knocks Finnegan off of like a rock. And Finnegan says, he's like, oh, I can't feel my legs. Like, I think my back is broken. And Kirk's like, oh, shit. And he goes to help him, but Finnegan was kidding and he was just faking, and he attacks Kirk again. And in watching this, like, one of the things that I kept thinking about was like, holy shit, dude. These stunts had to hurt. Like, I don't think that that's any kind of matte or like fake rock. That looked like solid rock. Like the stuntmen.
No.
Dude, the stuntmen took some falls on this. Like, some of those look genuinely painful.
What's the old school way of fighting and doing choreography is a lot painful, I always say.
Yeah, dude. So like, oh, my back hurt just watching some of this. But yeah, then Kirk gets knocked out and we go to a commercial, and when we come back, Kirk is waking up. And Finnegan's still just taunting him. So Kirk's like, hey, if the only thing I want out of this is like, I want answers. And Finnegan's like, well, you got to earn them, and then throws dirt in his eyes, and they start fighting again. They're just kind of trading punches, and then, both of them fall over exhausted. And then they get up and they just keep fighting again, and they collapse finally, like from exhaustion. And Kirk is just like, hey, I want to know what's happening to my people. And Finnegan says he doesn't answer a question from plebes. And Kirk's like, I'm not a plebe, which is really weird. So Kirk tries to...
I don't know what plebe means, but I can just guess.
It's basically like a newbie, but it gets used in gaming as an insult a lot to say that you're bad, when really it's just like you're a new person to something. So it's like it's not even anything terrible.
So people use that now? It's like a term they use now?
Well, yeah, now it's used as like an insult, saying that you're really bad at something. But originally, it's just
you're
like,
noob.
Yeah, originally,
so noob.
Yeah,
so noob would be plebe. Okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, I never ever heard it used before. So
yeah, so Kirk's, he's like, hey, I'm not a plebe, and then he tries to convince Finnegan. He's like, look, it's 15 years later. Like, what are you even doing here? And Finnegan's like, oh, I'm being exactly what you expect me to be. And then they just get up and fight again. They just keep going.
He's like, a dick?
Yeah. He's like, I'm just being an asshole. I'm whooping you, dude. So Kirk finally knocks Finnegan out, and then Spock shows up, and he's like, did you enjoy that? And Kirk's like, yeah, I kind of did enjoy that. And that's the only thing I've been wanting to do is beat the tar out of Finnegan, after all these years.
I've been thinking about this for 15 years.
Yeah, it's really weird that, like, Kirk got bullied at the academy, and that's all he thinks about now. So that's all he cares about. So they start discussing what they think is going on, and that, somehow something is reading their thoughts and manufacturing the things that they're thinking. So Spock gives the example of Rodriguez thinking of the tiger, and then suddenly there's a tiger behind him. And I saw this time that that poor tiger was just like on a chain, like had a chain around its neck.
Which definitely means they had a real tiger on set.
Yeah, and they're not doing that in filmmaking these days. Like that would probably be like a CGI tiger, I think, now.
You think they probably got that from the Tiger King guy?
Oh God.
Dude, I'm not being. I wonder if it's like that person that existed back then that had a bunch of animals. Maybe not him exactly. But.
Yeah. I think this is a little old for him, but I mean, like somebody like him, probably.
Yeah, somebody like him. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't notice the chain on his neck. I wasn't paying that much attention, honestly.
Yeah, that poor thing. But they leave the area and they go to warn the rest of the landing party, and then they get attacked by like some planes. You know, the airplane's straight into a strafing run, and they get attacked by the samurai, and Kirk just shoulder charges the shit out of that samurai like it's nothing. Like, he just runs through that thing.
Yeah, he's like, fuck your sword. I'm gonna knock you over.
Like, look, I really don't have time for this shit. And just, like, barrels through him. Elsewhere, Barrows has changed back into her regular uniform, and then Don Juan shows up and tries to kidnap her. But Kirk and Spock show up, and Don Juan just lets her go, and he runs away. Like, they don't say anything, they don't do anything. He's just like, oh shit, people, and he just leaves.
Don Juan didn't want nothing of that. He's like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's like, I saw what you did to that samurai. Like, I'm not messing with that. I don't want to catch that shoulder.
I do want to clarify, a lot of times, noticing small details that they mess up on. Her shirt isn't ripped right. I just want to clarify that.
Okay, I thought I saw that too, but I didn't want to go back and look.
Yeah, her shirt's not right. Like, it was ripped on the other side and further back.
Yep, that's what I thought.
So, like, yeah, so...
Maybe she imagined she somewhat fixed it, but not all the way.
Yeah,
incorrect.
She thought about her ripped clothes, but she thought about them wrong, so she just got, like, other ones manufactured.
Yeah, it's something real subtle and stupid. It's just me being...
Yeah, just continuity error.
Yeah, I just know stuff like that.
Which is weird, like, that they would not just use the original... uniform, but
a lot of times in movies, I'm like movie nerd, you guys know. A lot of times in movies and stuff, they'll have the same shirt done like a bunch of different times. Like, even though it's for one scene, like a ripped version of it, different forms of it ripped up, and then they'll just change it out and have you reuse it.
Right.
And a lot of time it comes where they'll mess up with put a blood spot in the wrong spot and things like that when they use a different form. Not sure why they do it like that, but
yeah,
that's how they do it.
Yeah. So Kirk tells them all to stand at attention, and he's like, you need to concentrate on being at attention and nothing else. Like, that's it. You just stand here and you concentrate on this. And then this is where just like some older guy comes walking up to him, and he says he's the caretaker of that area. So he tells them that he's like, hey, we just realized that you guys don't really understand what's going on here, and that this whole thing is really intended to amuse you. And Kirk is like, he kind of questions the use of the word amuse. He's like, you think this is amusing? And the old guy says that nothing that's happened there is permanent, and that all they have to do is imagine their fondest wishes, either old ones or, that they want to relive, or new ones. And he says that anything that pleases them can be made to happen. And Spock's like, oh man, it's kind of like an amusement park I read about from Earth. And the old guy's like, yep, that's pretty much exactly it. So we never got this old man's name, by the way. It's another one of those things where they were just like, minor character, he doesn't need a name. So he says that the planet was constructed for his race of people to go there and just basically play. And Sulu's like, well, if you're so advanced, you still need to play. And that's kind of weird. And Kirk says that the more complex the mind, the greater the need for the simplicity of play. And Kirk goes on to say it still doesn't explain the death of the ship's surgeon, and Dr. McCoy. And suddenly McCoy appears, and he's got two half-naked women. And he's like, well, that's possibly because nobody's died.
I hear the Godfather's music playing. Why do they walk that with them?
You see, this is the first moment, though. I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. Like, when you get to hear, like, him, like, there being women and all this crazy things, like, that made sense to me.
Yeah, because McCoy's a fucking G, and when he realizes what's going on, he makes himself some women.
Immediately.
He's like, I can have anything I want.
You see McCoy when he was walking around the corner, he's like, I better imagine clothes on them.
Yeah.
And I use that in air quotes.
Yeah, whatever the hell they were wearing. So McCoy explains that he was taken below the surface for some remarkable repairs. So he did actually get stabbed, but he lived through that. And he says that there's a factory complex down there that can build or do anything pretty much immediately. And Barrows is like, oh yeah, like, how do you explain these women? And, he kind of like stutters, and he's like, oh, he talks about how he was thinking about the two girls in a chorus line at a cabaret he knew on Rigel 2. And Kirk's just over there, like, just kind of laughing, and Barrows is like just giving him the death stare.
Like, you dirty dog.
Yeah.
So he, like, Bones is just kind of chuckling, and he's like, well, I am on shore leave after all. And Barrows is like, oh yeah, well I am too. And like she starts to approach him, and McCoy just dismisses the girls, and they just like they leave his arm and they go to Sulu and Spock, and poor Rodriguez doesn't get any love. He's just fucking standing over there.
Where's his woman at? Did he leave her behind?
Yeah, she ran to the tree and he's just like, all right, fuck it, and just left her there.
I guess she's dead.
Just left her for the tiger.
I was gonna say, does that mean she has a thing for Bone? Does she like, hey, get away from my man?
Yeah, that's the whole episode. Yeah,
well, the whole episode. That's what was going on the whole episode. She was trying to. They were kind of in a banter together.
His moves worked on her. Like, hey, put that on.
Yeah, whatever weird ass moves he has. Maybe she has the princess fetish too. Maybe that's where they bond.
She could. They're perfect for each other. Yeah.
So the old guy apologizes to Kirk for the uncomfortable events that they've had to suffer through, and Kirk is like, hey, who are you? What planet are you from? And the guy's like, oh, your race is not ready to understand us and what we do. And Spock is like, yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
Based on no evidence.
Well, hey, Spock knows, like, he's a Vulcan. He's not an Earthling.
True. But how many gods have they gone up against? And, I've seen some crazy shit. I think they can handle the truth on this one.
That's just standard Starfleet shit. You got to fight a god like every 2 months. Yeah, so then Kirk gets Kirk gets a call from Uhura explaining that their power has come back and asking if they need any assistance, and he's like, no, we're good down here. And the old man suggests that they use the planet to enjoy themselves now that they actually know what's going on. So Kirk tells Uhura to start transporting the shore leave parties and tells her to tell them to prepare for the best shore leave they've ever had, and then he just hangs up on her. Like, he knows what they're all going to go down there and do. And you don't need to go to that planet to do that. Like, you can do that on the ship. But I guess you probably shouldn't, because it would start to stink after a while.
Everyone's just down there imagining a brothel.
Yeah. So, so Spock says that he's going to go back to the ship and take over. And he hands his lady over to Sulu. So, like, still, Rodriguez does not. He's like, you already have one. You don't have a lady. I'm going to give this one to you so you can have two of them.
Yeah.
But then, like, at this point, Teller is back and she joins Rodriguez. So, like, he gets his lady anyway. But also, like, when Spock was handing his lady to Sulu, like, she was eyeing him up and down something fierce. And, like, I don't think that she wanted Spock. I think that actress just wanted her some Leonard Nimoy. Like, she gave him a not acting look, I think. Or she's just a really good actress. But I don't know, dude. Like, I think she wanted her some Nimoy.
Or that she was looking for some hardcore loving, because like Vulcans, they're probably pretty rough.
Well, I mean, they don't have emotions, so like I imagine it would just be really boring for them, right?
Ooh, well, isn't there? I might be wrong, but isn't there like a Vulcan lust that overtakes them like every couple years that they have to go satisfy?
Oh God,
am I making that up?
I have no clue.
Oh gosh, I hope so. Oh my God, I hope so.
It's like,
that'll be so.
Like every full moon
episode. That'll be an amazing episode. Fucking like a horn dog. Oh my God.
Just a full episode of Spock being a horny fucking maniac. Like just a sex-craved lunatic.
He's like, damn it, the full moon awesome. Again.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
He's just trying to find a lady to put his pointed ear in her mouth. That's all he wants.
Oh, those my precious homes, girl.
Oh, gross. So Spock says that he's already had as much shore leave as he cares to have, and Kirk protests. He's like, oh, you go back to the, you stay here, I'll go back to the ship and take care of everything. But then he sees Ruth approaching again, and he's like, well, on the other hand, maybe I can stay for a day or two. Which is really weird, because like at this point he knows that she's not even real, so he's just like willing to have sex with a doll that looks like a former love interest. So, shit, I didn't even think of that. Oh.
Well, in fairness, he can imagine her to do whatever he wants.
It's still weird. Like, he's having sex with a plant-based doll. It's a fucking vegan doll.
You had to ruin dolls vegan.
It doesn't even taste like the real thing. I'm cutting that out. I ain't fucking keeping that in.
Leave it.
You're not cutting that out. No, the hell you're not, sir.
I meant like the Impossible Whopper. Jesus Christ.
No, you're not. You're not cutting nothing out. No.
No.
You're not. Oh my God. What is going on this episode?
Oh fuck. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So sometime later, they're back on the ship, and all the crew that was on the shore leave enters the bridge, and Spock asks them if they enjoy their rest, and they agree that they all did. And Spock's like, oh, it's most illogical, and then they laugh and they just leave with that like really shitty, all's well that ends well, just fucking ending. And yeah, they go on to their next journey.
Well, they all had happy endings at the end, so.
Yeah. Well, this one it fit this one though.
Yeah, it did.
You said something about the plant-based part. I didn't even get that when I was watching that part.
Yeah.
About the things being plant-based.
Yeah, when Spock scanned him with the tricorder, he's like, oh yeah, they're pretty much made of the same cellular structure as all the plants and trees and shit around here.
Okay, talking about when he said something about it way earlier when he scanned it, right?
Yeah, when he scanned the Black Knight, yeah.
Okay, so using that as reference to maybe everything there is created by the plants, sort of actually plant life instead of real people.
Yeah.
Okay, so this general question about the episode now. You guys thought. Okay, so when he saw the guy Rodriguez is running with the girl and they run into the tree and he says her hurt. Now, did she really get hurt, or was it just
she got knocked out?
Okay, but then like later on, but earlier they say, "Oh yeah, the Black Knight body is gone." Where'd the body go? Like, did the body just get up and walk away, or does it like changing the plants and just going to the ground?
Well, they came in, they collected McCoy as well. Like somebody dragged him off. I think they said they found like drag marks.
Yeah, but you didn't see any. So like, I don't get how it works exactly.
Maybe they like popped up in one of those ground trap doors and just dragged him underground.
Yeah, and was it actually McCoy that got stabbed, or was it like a plant version of him that got stabbed to make them think he really got hurt?
No, it was a real one because he said that he got fixed up by their technology while he was dead, because they took him down below the planet into whatever weird factory-like place, and they fixed him up. He said.
So I guess what the planet is saying, what I'm getting now is in my head, trying to get right back. No matter what happens on this planet, we can always heal you and bring you back, no matter what happens.
I'm sure there's a limit, but they can probably repair quite a bit.
Okay, it's like a pleasure planet then.
Yeah, it's not okay, it's not like, but it's not Wrigley's. Like you can't do that because there's copyrights.
It's not the green. Yeah, it's not the Green Island. The Green Island chicks or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I know you already partially gave your thoughts on this. So do you want to start this one off, Paul?
Oh, I would gladly. This episode was annoying, terrible. Didn't make any sense to me. Every decision they made was idiotic. But like, it wasn't. The thing was, it wasn't a bad. Like the episode itself was good, but it was so much bad about the episode that it's more annoying to me. It wasn't terrible. It was just the way every character wasn't themselves. So if you're telling me nothing influenced their decisions and it was just them being them, then this episode is just complete dirt. Because there's no way that they should make them the kind of decisions they made. That's my issue with the whole episode. Everybody, even the way Bones was acting, McCoy was acting with the lady, like with the whole princess dress thing, all that crap. Like he wouldn't do that. Like he was just acting all, oh yeah, I'll stand there, I'll protect you, my lady. Like he don't talk like that. So like even with him talking like that and everything about it, I wish that it would explain it like, oh, well on this planet your inhibitions are down and your true fantasy come out in here and you can have pleasure or something, like explain something. It was just, I don't know, it was just weird. It was weird. It was very, very uncomfortable and creepy. It was just weird.
But now you have to give a rating out of 10.
Rating out of 10, I don't know. A 2 for enjoyment. A -8. I mean, would I recommend this episode to anybody? No. Matter of fact, if I saw them what's up, skip 15. I'd be like, skip 15 because it does nothing for you.
Oh, dude, could you imagine you've never seen Star Trek and you're like, oh, where should I start? And somebody recommends this episode?
Yeah, it just, and then if this was way early, like maybe episode 2 or 3, and everybody we hadn't got everybody's personality down, I could have been like, oh, this wasn't that weird. But every decision everybody made, including Kurt, who's one of the smartest guys we've seen to make some of the smartest decision ever, made a lot of stupid decisions in this episode. Go off by himself. Oh, let's split up. All these things that, oh, let's not split up evenly. Let's split up separate, like 1 and 5 here. I don't know.
Yeah.
whatever. Just kind of episode where I watched it. I got through it like, whatever.
Yeah, for me, yeah, it was just super goofy. It's not that I didn't dislike it because of that. Like, it's whatever. I just like it was a fun episode. I almost. It's not my place to say, but like I almost don't even consider this canon. Like, this is just such a weird like fever dream of an episode that I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, I'm on the fence. It's not Mud's Women, which is great because that's a terrible fucking episode. So it's not all the way down there, and I will forever hate that episode. But yeah, I don't know. It was just okay. Like, it was fun. The characters were weird and they were not themselves, and it was fun to see them do weird things they wouldn't normally do. Like, I'm okay with it because I know that the series has better episodes, but if it was all like weird goofy shit like this, I don't think I'd be into it. But I think something like this is okay every now and then. So I don't know, I enjoyed it. Wasn't Mud's Women, so I'm good with that.
Hold on, but you said weird goofy whatever. The weird goofy isn't the issue. It's the awkwardness and the each character not being to their basic self. That's the issue.
Yeah,
I think the weird goofy part, I think weird goofy would be fun. Like weird goofy would be fun. It was just that everybody was acting unlike themselves while they're being weird and goofy. So that kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I just like the episode. It works, like, for me anyway. Like, I think it works, but it only works because they're not themselves. And like, I'm okay with just like weird out of place shit with this every now and then because it can't all be like serious, and like I don't think that it really damages any of the characters too much. Like, yeah, some of them were like super off base. Like, Kirk was not Kirk at all, and like McCoy was not McCoy at all, but Spock was still Spock. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm trying not to take the series like very seriously. And like, I know you're not either. Like, I'm not saying you're like super serious about it. I'm just, I don't know. Just like, I'm just forgiving of it. Like, it's weird. It was a fun, weird ride. I would be okay with not doing it again to this extent, but I don't know. It just kind of is for me. Like, it wasn't terrible or anything.
Yep. All right, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I didn't mind this episode, honestly. Just for my head canon, I'm just going to assume that either the technology was just scrambling their brains, or there was something with the plant life that was just make them trip balls or get high. That could explain why they're making such bad decisions. But yeah, it's definitely no episode 14, but it's not a bad episode either.
Maybe they all actually died in the Romulan thing, and this is like just the afterlife for them. Or one of their afterlives. This is Kirk. Like, from now on, he's dead, and this is everything that happens after this is just not real. Terrible fan theory, but okay, yeah. If that's it, like, if you guys don't have anything else, then we'll go ahead and get this wrapped up.
Nah, I think I'm good.
I'm good, fellas.
Yep. So the next one we're gonna watch is obviously season 1, episode 16, called The Galileo 7. Which sounds interesting. Like, that sounds like a group of like hitmen or something. I'm curious to see what that is. But yeah, as always, we're on Twitter at WWST_podcast, Gmail, WWSTpod@gmail.com. We have not received any email. Do people even email stuff anymore? Like, do they write you and be like, well, that last one, there was this one little thing you guys said. Like, I'd be curious to get something like that.
Yeah, I assume they probably post something on Twitter if they have something to say.
Yeah, just tell us that we suck.
Yeah.
I mean, they can. I'd rather hear like, "Oh, you guys aren't bad." But yeah, also you suck is good.
You guys are getting better.
Yeah.
Oh, I only want the hate mail. Come on.
Yeah, all feedback is good feedback. Yeah, we are everywhere you find your favorite podcast, and that does include YouTube. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me for this one. So thanks to everybody for sticking through this one, just like the way Paul stuck through this episode. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Later, guys.
Later.